Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for Choujin X Chapter 2. When we last left our heroes, we were introduced to the world of Choujin through this girl Ellie on a plane, and through a bit of an encounter, she met this flame Choujin that burned everyone on the plane and crashed it. Though later we learned there were 200 survivors of the plane crash, which we'll get to in a minute. We are then introduced to our main characters, Tokio and Azuma. Tokio's a bit of a coward, sort of, he sees this girl being harassed by this guy Johnny. He calls Azuma. Azuma saves the day. And we see that Tokio and Azuma have like a long friendship of Azuma kind of protecting Tokio from bullies. And that continues to the present day. Anyway, the next night, we learn that Johnny, the would-be assaulter, has taken a serum to turn him into a Choujin. Specifically a Flexi Choujin. Choujins are superhumans. In case that was not clear, the thing about previously on Chapter 2s is that you get in this kind of explaining the premise along with the events. Anyway, he's kind of like an early Luffy, Gum Fruit powers. And he tries to kill Johnny and Tokio and Azuma. They barely get away, and they find a Choujin serum just lying on the ground. They both take the serum, and then Johnny comes back. He hits Tokio, and Tokio turns into this vulture, which Tokio has kind of already been sort of aligned with symbolically, called the Bestial Choujin. And he just punches Johnny. And that's where we left off last time. So let's jump right on into Choujin X Chapter 2. And we open with a monologue seemingly about the girl from the beginning of last chapter in the plane. Ellie Otsuta grew up a ways away from Yamato, in a poor farming village in another prefecture. The tomatoes she cultivated in the infertile soil of that high elevation were chock full of nutrients. So there's this interesting thing that happened last time that I didn't really comment on, where tomato is spelled with a Y in the middle of it. I don't know if there's some cultural reference there I'm missing, or if it's just a weird thing. Anyway, young and industrious, Ellie devised ways to improve the efficiency of agricultural labor, which meant her adoptive grandfather and the others in their village were able to dedicate their time to selectively breeding and improving their crops. Which is pretty impressive for a 10-year-old. The tomatoes grown by Ellie's household were nicknamed Bum Bums and enjoyed some popularity in the local community, which is what she was doing last time when the flame Choujin kind of burned her. And we open on the kind of not really a cold open, but let's call it a cold open of last chapter of Ellie being burned alive. The skin is burning off of her. It's a pretty creepy image there. But then we see Ellie is fine. And there's someone that she looks to be in a warehouse or something, lying down. Oh, you're awake? You alright? And she sits up, and maybe she's outside, actually, because we see what looks like other buildings in the distance. She's on a rooftop. And she just asks, where am I? And we do hear what sounds like industrial work going on. Keep it coming, keep it coming. This place here? We're in South Yamato. What are you doing in a place like this, girlie? Okay, so seemingly she's woken up. So here's the thing. Last time we learned that there were 200 survivors of the Flame Humans' attack. And I assumed those 200 survivors were found with the plane. But now Ellie is somewhere else entirely. No idea what's going on there. Anyway, she kind of says, well, I need to check into the inn and the veggie fair, huh? And she realizes when she was last conscious she was on a plane. The plane? Did I get off the plane? The guy tells her, what plane? Well, the airport's to the north. The tower's in between on the opposite side. There's a lot of construction going on here. It's not safe. Lots of thugs around, too. This guy, by the way, has a shoulder tattoo of 2 male symbols. Is that supposed to be Suya Yoshida's super not that subtle way of telling us that he's gay? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, would you be kind enough to show me the way? And the guy says, sure. But just then, this smoke kind of comes in between them, blasts the guy's hat off, and maybe his right arm. Yeah, he just kind of burns up. And who appears but the flame human from last chapter, who says, I am well acquainted with the roads here. What if I escort you? And Ellie panics, because I think at this point she's starting to remember what happened. Though, as we saw in the beginning of this chapter, Ellie burned up, and now she's fine, so maybe this guy is fine. I don't know. Either way, Ellie runs the fuck away, jumping over rooftops. It's some parkour shit for a 10-year-old. And our flame human friend continues to kind of chase after her. As she just runs through the streets. He now seems to be, like, flying, which makes sense given he can, like, use, because we see on the next page, he's using his legs as, like, using his flames from his feet like rockets. And someone notes watching it's a Choujin. I'm curious what kind of vibe we're supposed to get from that. It's still a little bit unclear how the general populace feels about Choujin. It's not like ghouls, where, like, humans obviously hated ghouls because ghouls ate humans. Whereas here, we have that little bit last time of Azuma complaining, you know, why do the Choujins not just help people with their powers? Why do they hurt them? But I don't know if that's... Like, I'm assuming that's a kind of general opinion, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, Flame Man says, so humid. Like a wild monkey, aren't you? And he gets ahead of her, catches up, and stops her. And he kind of tauntingly asks, so? And Ellie grunts, ugh. And then we cut to something else. Some rando. Oh, I think it's just someone, like, on a scooter as Ellie is trying to get away again. I snuck out in the middle of the night to practice riding the roller boy yay my gramps bought me. And then Ellie, like, runs, like, falls on the scooter or something. Gwah! And gets the wheel somehow? Oh no, that's her stealing it. Okay, as she runs away from Fire Guy. And Ellie yells, what is this? And the guy calls back, that's my roller boy yay! A roller boy yay? And the guy kind of moans, oh, I'll pay you back later. And as she's getting away, we see Fireman also behind her. Huh? That's a roller boy yay! She just cannot escape. Give this girl a break. As they're now on what looks like a main road, as Flame Man taunts, haven't got a handle on your ride, have you? You're hardly making full use of a roller boy yay's capabilities. There's just, sorry, there's just something about the phrase roller boy yay coming out of that face that's just like, it's just funny to me. And Ellie yells back, like I care. Nobody could beat me on a tractor, though. Guess I have no choice. And then she sort of, seems to sort of slip off the yay and falls off the bridge. What? And Flame Man seems to think it's intentional. Did she just abandon her roller boy? And she seems to have landed on, like, a bed that's just hanging out in, like, a trash dump under the bridge. Sorry, that is my med alarm. I did not realize how close I was to that. Anyway, I'll get to that after this video. So if I get rambly from here, you know why. But she kind of lies there. Sorry, kid from earlier. I don't know what he wants with me, but I know I gotta skedaddle. How will I... And just then she happens to see a tractor, which she's already said she's really good at. Yippee! And then the Choujin, gah, I'm going too fast to brake. This is a major roller boy yay design flaw. Sorry. I can't get over roller boy yay. It's just a really funny title, especially in, like, the voice I've given the flame guy. It's just good. It's just good. It's a good voice. It's a good line. A good phrase. And then he notices a rock in the road. Huh? And he goes flying right into a vat of something. And we see a bunch of, like, I'm guessing animal-themed Choujins that look like a NASCAR pit crew is my first assumption. Or like a biker gang or something. The hell is that? They look like lambs, all of them, as Flame Man has sort of fallen into this pit. Looks like some old dude. Guy just dropped out of the sky. A roller boy. And he holds up something. Maybe it's money? As he tells them, "Gentlemen, after that tractor, catch it, and you'll get a flip phone." Who cares about a flip phone? What? And the Choujin are all just get on to him. Huh? Who said we're taking orders from you? Whoa, that's a Docomo phone. I'm so jelly. Wait, when is this set? Is the flip phone an actual big deal? Who's gonna listen to you? Hand over that flip phone. I want one too. You better not be underestimating us cryptid bikers. So yeah, they are a biker gang. And then our flame man grabs one of the cryptids, and we see this puff of smoke emerge as we learn his name. Smoke Human Chandra Hume. So yeah, that he's not a flame human at all. He's a smoke Choujin. Okay. And Hume tells them, "My apologies. I'm impatient, you see." And this guy is like burned alive. Though again, does that kill him is kind of up to interpretation, as we saw with Ellie. And all the other people on the plane. "So are you in? What do you say?" And then we cut to Ellie, who looks back in shock as the cryptid bikers are all chasing her. Golly! And she looks back and she sees Hume in like a sports car with the smoked out cryptid. And she gets kind of angry. "That stinker! Why is this happening? By now I would have been done with the fair, and I should have been getting a massage at the inn. Why am I racing around town in the middle of the night in a tractor?" So yeah, this is a good point to kind of bring up a question. Is that, like, looking at what Hume did last chapter, I could kind of leave that as he's just kind of evil, he's not meant to really be a character, he's an introduction into the world of, like, crimes committed by Choujin. So it's enough that he's just kind of a dick, and that's kind of the only trait he's got. Here, though, he spent 20 pages chasing after this girl, and I just don't know why. And who the heck are these fellas? And why are they making a racket this late? All that rooming around. And then, apparently, a bunch of them kind of wipe out. I don't know if these doo-doos are in league with that wide-eyed fellow, but they're neighborhood nuisances, that's for sure. These doo-doos wouldn't even make good manure. I like the little, like, reminder that she's a child. The worst insult she can come up with is doo-doo. But she then slams the gas. Now they've got me all riled up. Get a load of my tractor driving skills. And I don't know if that's just an artistic interpretation of things. But the buildings there look like they're all kind of slanted for some reason. As most of the bikers sort of lose their grip on their bikes. As Ellie she's getting strained now. There's sweat. She's got like veins pulsing in her forehead. As she sees like a clear trail. Time to plow ahead. And she's going down this mountain. But Hume is catching up. Think you can give me the slip? I have 4-wheel drive. Faster, you hunk of junk. But just then, he's like hit by a truck. He's like slammed by this truck driver. Who looks to be like a fish Choujin. And Hume is kind of sent flying. The driver is just stunned. And Ellie calls back, "Yeah, serves you right, with a cherry on top. Hope you enjoy them in the afterlife." So yeah, that's just how that chase ends. A random truck comes in. As we got a full-on 2-page spread here. Ah ha ha ha! As she like drives off a cliff. Which is not a great sign, but the bikers are all following after her. And she suddenly realizes that she fell off a cliff. And I like, she's like falling upside down out of the tractor on the last panel comprising 34 and 35 there. And even the is upside down. That's a really nice touch. But she lands on, so the cliff had this sort of slope, like a brick slope. On the edge of it, and she lands on the slope and runs. Whoa! But then it seems at a certain point she loses her footing and she starts to kind of tumble. And she falls and falls and falls and hits the water. Which might be the same water where the fight with Johnny is. Because all this time in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, where's the plot we left off last time? But maybe this is it. Maybe this is how she sort of gets ingratiated in the main plot. We also, though, see some more of the cryptids falling. And they're heading for concrete. And then, as Ellie just says, "Thanks for the good run, boys, up to now." Or maybe this is some of the cryptids saying it to each other. They kind of accept their death. And Ellie sort of crawls up out of the water. I think she fell into the water, right? It didn't. Yeah. We see the splash. She crawls up onto land, and she sees something that shocks her. This like whoop sound effect as her whole body seems to shake, and she turns to smoke. I think this was going on there, which Hume was just listed as a Smoke Choujin. Is there some connection? Is that why he was chasing after her? And she has this image of someone saying, "Don't die." And we see her body turning to smoke, and what looks like a flashback. Her seeing the same kind of Choujin serum device we saw last chapter. An arm bringing down a knife, I think. Or maybe that is the serum. Her, like, stabbing her hand with it. Did she forget about that? Because if she can turn into smoke, I don't know why she didn't do that to get away from Hume. We see her, like, yelling in pain, and what I'm guessing is a flashback. Gah! And then, and a 2-page spread that looks very reminiscent of Tokio's 2-page spread last time. She's sort of, her arm turns into flames, and flames shoot out of her eyes. She's kind of, like, leaned back in, like, an extreme shaft tilt. And all of the cryptids are kind of blasted by the smoke, which might actually save their lives if it changes their velocity. Allowing them to hit the ground at not a soft speed, but much softer than they were doing. But what I'm wondering is, what parts are flashback and what parts are present? Because I'm assuming pages 42, 43, 44, and 45 are all flashback to when Ellie took the serum in the past, which she apparently did. Which might explain why Hume was chasing her. Meanwhile, I think 41, when she sees her hand start to smoke, is present. She's long since taken the serum. Maybe she forgot about it. Maybe it's a repressed memory, like we're kind of seeing with Shiemi and Blue Exorcist right now. Which is, I just finished that video, so that's why it's kind of on the brain. But I don't know if this 46 and 47 spread is in the present, because it's so reminiscent of Tokio's first emerging as a Choujin that I want to say it's her initial transformation, but it then bleeds into her using the smoke to accidentally save the cryptids. So maybe that 46 and 47 is the present. I don't know. Anyway, she sort of sees, she's released this, gust of smoke, and then falls back, and then we see someone lying face down. I would say it's Ellie, but we just see Ellie fall backwards, judging by the position of her feet. But someone says, "There it is. There. That right there. That's what I wanted to see. That quick judgment. That tough resolve. And most of all, that persistence." And it's Hume, reviving himself out of smoke. A human perfectly equipped with the makings of a Choujin, though your inanity is a matter of slight concern. Okay, hold on, interesting thing. Because he's saying you have the makings of a Choujin, which would imply that she's not the one who did the smoke attack. Which, I could see it being Hume, though that was his smoke. I don't know why he would protect the bikers, but okay. But we see the hand that starts to smoke that looks like Ellie's hand, right? Because she's got those bandages on, and we see the bandages with the smoke. But we also see the bandages on 42 and 42 through 45. Maybe she did just kind of inject herself just now. But why? I don't know. Okay. And Ellie looks up at him. A Choujin? I am Chandra Hume, a Smoke Choujin. Behold. and he shows her what I would call like an article on a smartphone, but given the fact that the flip phone seems to be the peak of technology in this world, maybe it's just like a brochure or something? A strange cloud has engulfed the plane. Did this mysterious smoke keep casualties to a minimum? So is he trying to imply that he's the good guy here? This is your power. Oh, so that happened last time. It was Ellie, somehow with the same power as Hume, that protected the plane. That's why she was not where everyone else was. Were you infected with my power to think this is the result of the first attempt? This is exactly the talent I was looking for. You've passed. I'll teach you everything there is to know about Choujin. I won't do you wrong. In order to use this glorious power, and Ellie stops him, you've gotta be kidding. You won't do me wrong? Are you talking in your sleep? All you've been doing is wrong. Ellie's just like not having any of this. I'm a fan. What you did with that power of yours, so the first person who showed me kindness when I was outside of my neck of the woods, that was horrifyingly wrong. What's so glorious about that? Your power's worse than a turd. You're nothing but a wrongdoer. Like I said earlier, though, for all of Ellie's bravado, she's a child. Her choice of insults are a child. The doo-doo of the bikers, wrongdoers, the word she can kind of say here. But Hume gets mad. A turd? Worse than a turd, you say? My power is worse than a turd? And he like grabs her by the throat, and he seems to be pushing her towards that giant fan. Tell me, you crappy little, how exactly is this exquisite power at my disposal inferior to a turd? It seems untamed monkeys require discipline. I'll show you exactly what happens when someone slights me. And I'll mark the lesson down on your face. And he brings his flames down to Ellie. As she sort of leaned up against this fan. And Ellie looks at him. As she kind of inner monologues. Drones in a hoop greenhouse, grandpappy. A ginormous house. A huge dog. Paying those folks back for the roller boy yay and the tractor. A handsome Goldilocks hubby. And 9 kids. It's a callback to her first scene from last time. The same absurd square-jawed guy from earlier. I wanna teach this cruel fella a lesson he won't forget. And then we see she seems to disappear from Hume's hands. And Hume kind of jumps away from her, and she's sort of flying in a different direction now. Her pose looks like blown away. As Hume sort of collects himself, that's Hoshi. I don't know who the fuck Hoshi is, but he's a sort of superhero-looking guy who's controlling is like levitating these cars, like with magnetism or something, and he throws them at Hume. And Hume is hit by car after car after car. Ugh. And he sort of raises his hand weakly and does this sort of pose. I don't know if you can see it fully in the video, like that. Except more extended. And we see the smoke kind of seems to come for Ellie. And Hoshi does this sort of thing, and there's this, as something happens. Oh, and all of the smoke kind of surrounds Ellie now. There's a clear circle around her. And Hoshi kind of jumps in the middle of it with Ellie. And he's got this very, superhero vibe. Chandra Hume. And then nothing happens, so he just says, guess he got away. And then he turns to Ellie. Are you alright? Oh, I think so. And then Hoshi turns to her. Fellows like him are targeting people with aptitude, like you. And Ellie looks at him confused. Aptitude? Like for farming? I suppose you might have an aptitude for that, too. But I mean people with the power to help others. Which I'm assuming is Hoshi here deliberately referring to Choujin powers as the power to help others, which might be one of the series' big moral debates, are these powers helpful or harmful? There's also something about his silhouette there that feels a little familiar. Anyway, he undoes Ellie's bandages on her arm. Thank you kindly, and she looks up with literal hearts in her eyes. Yeah, that he looks like her dream man. Despite the fact his chin is just like is just the length of the rest of his face. I'm Hoshi Sandek, Yamato Prefecture's Choujin Protector. Choujin Hoshi Sandek. What's your name, little Choujin? And with that, we finally cut back to Tokyo. Tokyo, quit hogging the bath. I've got to get up early tomorrow. And Tokyo calls back, go away, pervert. I'm just about to come out, okay? And we see what I took for a mask last chapter is now Tokyo's face. He just kind of looks like that now. There's also these burns all over him. It's kind of gross, as he calls out, this is so gross. I can't go to school like this, much less anywhere else. Guess the cold water made it worse. And both Tokyo and Ellie sigh. Does this mean... And we see Tokyo sitting in the shower, and Ellie, what I guess is like... she's in a chair. It feels like one of those like shipping containers that you see in like shipyards. Does this mean I've turned into a Choujin? Next chapter coming soon. I mean, Tokyo at least asked for it. That was like what he wanted first thing. But yeah. It's another long chapter. I don't know if this is going to remain the norm. A part of me hopes so, because Ishida gets a lot out of just having 70 pages in one chapter. A part of me hopes not, because my voice hurts. We'll see. Anyway, the chapter seems to... I'm guessing that the Johnny fight just sort of ended without incident after Tokyo transformed. We don't know what happened to Azuma yet, so we should keep an eye on that. For next time, I imagine we'll get some answers as we kind of focus back in on Tokyo, who just looks really creepy. I don't know if he... There's a part of me that wants to see, someone who looks like that kind of carry a series. And a part of me is like, there's going to be some way he kind of turns back to normal. If he can't, there is no way he can keep this secret. It's not going to be one of those, like with Ghoul, how Kaneki always had to hide his Ghoul status from Hide in the original series, until the end at least. You can't do that when you have, like, a pterodactyl bill. Or a vulture beak, obviously, is what it's going for, but still. But that's really all there is for Tokyo. A lot of stuff going on, though, with Ellie. Who mostly spends a good chunk of the chapter really confused, as she's just sort of chased by Hume. And it's a really fun scene. A really fun chase. Just the saying, roller boy yay yay. Good shit, good shit. We see, like, the bit with the cryptid bikers, the importance of a flip phone, which is just really funny to me. But for the most part, I don't really think there's a whole lot to dig into from, like, a character standpoint or a thematic standpoint beyond Ellie is really good at running away, and Hume is persistent, at least till we get to the end. To, like, 40 pages in. Where we have all of this stuff with Ellie. And I'm a little confused, because I'm trying to figure out when this was. When Ellie took the serum. Because the way Hume frames it, Hume says, where is the line? Were you infected with my power? Implying that Ellie, somehow by her encounter with Hume, gained his abilities, but through an accidental way, which kind of goes against her injecting herself with the needle in what might be a flashback, might not be a flashback. It might be what she did on the plane. But the question, though, is that when we see her on page, I think it's like 3, yeah, on page 3, her, like, skin is gone on her face, right? But when we see what might be shortly after that on page, like, 40-ish, she seems fine when she takes the needle. So is that a flashback? Is that the present? If it is the present, then she already had the Choujin power when she took the serum. And why take this serum? Like, with Tokyo and Azuma, they kind of were like, oh, we're fighting a Choujin. There's a Choujin serum. It's our only option or we will die. I don't quite know why. Like, at this point, Ellie thinks it's over. The bikers are right about to hit the ground and die. Hume is long since dead. why go through with this? It turns out to not be the case, as Hume is still alive. I don't know. I'm curious to see more of Ellie's thought processes going forward. So I can kind of put this theme in context, which I can't really do yet. After that, though, we get this bit about Hume wants Ellie on his side for something. He wants her to be his disciple to accomplish some goal. We have no idea what the goal is yet, but there's something he wants with Ellie. Or with just a disciple in general. It doesn't work, as Ellie has more moral fiber in one cell of her body than Hume could ever imagine. And she's great, and, we stan. But I just don't... There's just a lot of mysteries going on. And it's early enough in the series that it's still slightly confusing what's intended to be a mystery and what's parts of the premise that haven't quite been set up yet. So we'll just sort of keep an eye on that all going forward. Anyway, as Ellie kind of stands no chance against Hume, we're then introduced to Hoshi Sandek, who seems to be this sort of... A part of me wants to kind of not really compare... Now, I'm about to try to do an Anteku comparison. That's not quite right. Anteku didn't really, until Kaneki kind of got involved with Aogiri, didn't really try to fight bad ghouls, as I recall. They just provided ghouls an opportunity to get food morally. Whereas Hoshi here is directly fighting against evil Choujin, serving as this kind of protector. And God, I just hate his face. It's just so weird. I don't know why Ellie thinks that's attractive. It's even uglier than her perfect guy, because at least he had, chin definition. This guy is just flat from the neck, from the lip down. But yeah, Ellie's going off with him to learn more about herself and become a good Choujin, and Tokyo's in a kind of a shit spot. And yeah, I don't know when we're getting more. I don't know what more will look like at this point. But there's still just a lot to like here. And I'm excited to see where this series kind of goes from here. But yeah, that's kind of all I got to say for this video. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. Do whatever makes you happy, And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!